All right, today we're going to build the shield that protects your most important online asset, your email domain. We're going to break down 3 little acronyms, SPF, DKIM, and DMARC, that can literally save your business from some incredibly costly attacks. Let's dive in. And to really understand why this is so important, let's start with a number. This, according to the FBI, is the estimated global cost of what they call business email compromise scams. You know, these are those sophisticated attacks that often start with just a single, simple, fake email designed to look like it came from someone you trust, like your boss or a vendor. So, how is this even possible? Well, the problem is actually baked right into the way email was first designed. The protocol that runs all our email, called SMTP, has no built-in way to verify who a sender really is. This means pretty much anyone can pretend to send an email as you, and the servers on the other end have no easy way to spot the fake. So here's the trick, right? This is how scammers pull it off. Every single email actually has 2 from addresses. First, there's the hidden one, the mail from, which is what servers use behind the scenes. Think of it like the return address on the actual physical envelope. But then there's the one you actually see in your inbox. An attacker can put a totally legitimate address, like CEO@yourcompany.com, in that visible field, while their own malicious server is listed in the hidden one. And that mismatch, that's the heart of the whole problem. Okay, so how do we actually fix this? Well, the first layer of our shield is something called SPF. And honestly, the best way to think about it is like a super strict guest list for your domains party. You see, an SPF record is really just a simple public text file you add to your domain settings. It lists out every single server and service, like your Google Workspace, your MailChimp, whatever, that has your permission to send email for you. So when an email comes in, the receiving server just checks the sender's IP address against this guest list. If they're on the list, great, they get in. If not, they get flagged. Simple as that. But, and this is a big but, SPF on its own has some really critical flaws. For one, it only checks that hidden mail from address, not the visible one that the attacker is faking. And second, if somebody forwards your email, well, the forwarding server isn't on your guest list, right? So SPF breaks and your perfectly legitimate email can get marked as fake. It's a good first step for sure, but it is not a complete solution. So, to plug the holes in SPF, we need a second layer of defense, DKIM. Think of this one like a tamper-proof digital seal on every single message you send out. DKIM uses some clever cryptography to add a unique, hidden signature right into your email's header. It's basically the digital version of a wax seal on an old letter. The server on the other end can use your public key, which you also store in your DNS, to check if that signature is valid. This proves 2 things, and they're both super important. 1, that the email really did come from your domain, and 2, that the message itself hasn't been messed with along the way. But you guessed it, there's still a loophole here. An attacker can send a perfectly signed email from their domain, let's call it evilcorp.com, and it'll pass the DKIM check just fine. But they can still put your domain, yourcompany.com, in the visible from address to trick the person receiving it. DKIM by itself doesn't check if the domain that signed the email matches the one the user actually sees. And that, right there, brings us to the most crucial layer of them all, the one that ties everything together and actually makes this whole system work. This is DMARC, and it's basically our digital security guard. DMARC kind of stands on the shoulders of SPF and DKIM. It checks the results, but it does so much more. It sets a clear policy that tells other servers exactly what to do with emails that fail the tests. And just as importantly, it gives you critical reports on who is sending email from your domain, both the good guys and the bad guys. So what's the secret sauce here? What makes DMARC the real hero of this story? It's not just that it checks SPF and DKIM. It adds one incredibly powerful little requirement. And that power, it all comes down to one simple word: alignment. Seriously, this is the game changer. DMARC verifies that the domain that passed the SPF check, or the domain that provided the DKIM signature, actually matches the visible from domain. This one simple check slams the door on the loopholes in the other protocols. It finally connects all the hidden technical stuff to what you and I actually see in our inbox. And this is where you really take back control. You start DMARC off easy in a monitor mode, which just gathers data without blocking anything. Once you look at the reports and you're confident all your legitimate mail is aligned, you can step up your policy to quarantine, which tells servers to send any failing emails to the spam folder. And then finally, you can move to reject, which tells them to block those fakes completely. Okay, so let's put all the pieces together and see how these three things, SPF, DKIM, and DMARC, how they work together as one seriously powerful system. So to recap, SPF, that's the guest list. It checks where the email came from. DKIM, that's the tamper-proof seal. It checks what the email says and if it's been altered. And DMARC? DMARC is the security guard. It checks who the sender claims to be and tells other servers exactly what to do about the imposters. And hey, don't just take my word for it. As Microsoft's own documentation makes pretty clear, you need all three. Using just one or two of these is like locking your front door but leaving the back window wide open. It gives you this false sense of security while leaving your domain totally vulnerable. Okay, but here's the really shocking part. Research shows that the vast majority of businesses that even bother to adopt DMARC never actually use its power. Something like 75% get stuck in that initial monitoring mode, which means they're basically just watching the attacks happen without ever giving servers permission to block them. This leaves that domains dangerously exposed. But look, the good news is you can absolutely fix this. And with new rules coming from the world's biggest email providers, there has never been a more urgent time to get this right. Starting in early 2024, huge providers like Google and Yahoo made these protocols mandatory for a lot of senders. If you don't have all three of these configured correctly, your legitimate emails, your marketing, your invoices, your support replies, yeah, they might not even get delivered anymore. Now, this is super important. The order you do this in really, really matters. To do this right, you have to start with SPF first. Then you implement DKIM. Only after both of those are working should you add a DMARC record in that monitor mode. From there, you analyze the reports, fix anything that's broken, and then you can finally move to a full enforcement policy of quarantine or reject. So I guess I'll just leave you with this question. Without these three layers of protection working together, fully enforced, your domain isn't just unprotected, it's an open invitation for criminals to impersonate you, scam your customers, and ruin your reputation. So, is your domain's door locked, or is it just wide open?